Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time reviewing on issue 20 of the Image Comics of Transformers. We're now on issue 20 with the return of Megatron, and that the stakes are now risen to a lot more extreme levels. And let's get on with the story. It starts off at the remains of Seattle, where Megatron has returned, and Soundwave basically says the Autobots are getting away. And Megatron says, "Then let us give chase. Megatron! Astro Train. It's time to finally pay for all you have done to me." And we see how, Astro Train tries to duke it out with Megatron, but we kind of see how Megatron tries to take this matter personally, and we see how they both duke it out, both exchange hits and blows. But of course, Megatron is far too powerful for Astro Train, and even throws him off the sort of building, where he ends up falling down, and says, "You were pathetic then, you're pathetic now. A stain on what it means to be a Decepticon." But we even see how Megatron has still use of Astro Train. We see at G.I. Joe headquarters, Doc is talking to one of the officers about everything that's been going on, and turns out they now have Ultra Madness under lock and key. And we see how back at the Ark, Optimus says to Spike, "Spike, how is RC? Still angry about Carly being kidnapped?" Yeah. And we see how Optimus knows full well what Megatron can be capable of, and he even knows with what little they have to double it up. And we see how Trailbreaker and Jazz have to kind of duke up their weaponry, and even Optimus and Spike talks about the Matrix and the past leaders, and even asks can his dad talk to him too? But Optimus pointing out, "Oh, Spike, the Matrix is not a tool for communication. The spirit of the Primes is inside, giving us power, lighting our darkest moments. But I never hear their voices." I figured, but I'm still hoping. "I know, Spike. I know. I am sorry." "What do you have to be sorry for?" And we see how Optimus feels responsible for everything that's happened, and he is even worried that he's becoming something far worse than Megatron, knowing that full well what the darkness could be inside him. And we see how Spike tries to give Optimus a motivational talk, but we even see how the aerial bots have now brought back Jetfire, doubling up their numbers. And we see how, Silverbolt's the first to be revived. And we see how all the other area bots, like Slingshot, Skydive, Firefly, and that are all being revived. And even Spike's amazed that they're all planes. And Optimus saying, "They were created long ago to help us match the Decepticon air power." And it kind of turns out that, they're still kind of these young, juvenile bots, but they have the kind of souls. And even Optimus is glad that they're all okay now. And I like how Optimus plays the role of being a parent, and the aerial bots being like his children. And we kind of see how Wheeljack sets up the kind of device to kind of check how Optimus is acting. And underneath Terratran 1 is Thundercracker. And we see how back on Cybertron, Shredhead and Cliff Chomper have a talk, and even asks Shredhead if any of his friend's memories are still within them. But we even see how Shredhead points out that he has vague memories, that is all. But even asks Cliff Chomper about Carly and that, and even learns that their alt mode was based from Carly's van. And we see how Shredhead wants to help Cliff Chomper, but we see how in the Pacific Ocean. Megatron saying, "Since the beginning of the war, I have been hiding raw materials and energon all over Cybertron. One of those locations is here below the beacon of the Ancients. The Ancients? Will they ever come back?" And we see how Megatron gets to work on his plan. And the first thing he does is bring Starscream. And we see how, he ends up getting converted back to normal and saying, "I am brand new! Megatron, my glorious savior! Thank you, my master, thank you! Never again will I turn on you again! Never again!" "I'm so glad you're feeling better." And we see how Megatron makes it clear that Starscream is going to be punished for betraying him and getting a lot of his men killed. And he even beats him to a pulp. And this is Megatron making it clear, you let this happen, I'm going to make an example of it. And even has Astro Train brought forward to be punished. And we see how Megatron turns into his gun mode, and this is full well that this brings back old memories for Starscream, and right away blasts Astro Train. But turns out since he doesn't have his full power yet, the sort of power from his gun mode will take time. And we see how Megatron says, "Do it, Starscream!" And even blasts Astro Train multiple times until he's basically nothing more. And after changing back, we see Megatron saying, "Prepare yourselves, Autobots. I am coming to make myself whole." And this is the story. So I feel like issue 20 builds up to where I think the story is getting a lot more better, because we know full well what Megatron's like. We know full well that Optimus has to deal with not only PTSD, but something darker inside him. And the story really raises up the stakes to a lot more extreme levels. So I think this one definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, comic book reviewer here, signing out.